If you study English with Daway Inglés, you're awesome, to be honest. And if you listen to this podcast, you'll be awesomer. You'll be really cool. So, yes, you're listening to Daway Inglés podcast. And today, I've got a Curso Inglés Intermedio session number 17. I'm going to be talking about conditionals in English. So, welcome back to Daway Inglés podcast. You're listening to Intermediate English course, Curso Inglés Intermedio. This is session number 17, and I'm very, very happy to be back. So, I hope you're doing fine. You know, everything is cool in your life, and you know, I'm really glad to have you back to classes. So today, we've got an important class. I'm going to be talking about conditionals in English. I'm really, really sure you might have heard of conditionals before, because it's something very famous, very popular, and it's one of the main grammar points that you're going to need for the B1 level. If you're preparing for Cambridge exam, you know, for PET, this is, definitely something you want to actually knuckle down. You know, this is something you need to know for sure. This is something you need to master. So, I divided the class into two parts. So today we've got the first part. I'm going to be talking about 2 of the 3 conditionals you're going to need for the B1. So, first of all, let's think about what a conditional sentence is. And, what it is, basically, is it's a sentence with 2 parts or 2 sections. The first section is a condition, and if this condition is met, then we have like a consequence or a result, an outcome. So, for example, you might say, if you drink too much alcohol, you get drunk. Okay? There is a condition, if you drink too much alcohol, and then you've got the result. If you meet the condition, then you get the consequence. Or, I don't know, if you study hard, you will pass the exam, or you pass an exam. You know, si estudias, apruebas. So it's, if you meet the condition, the criteria, then you've got the consequence, you pass the exam. So that's basically, the basic structure of a conditional sentence, but it might have 2 different forms. Normally, when we've got the first form, if you blah, 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 comma, okay, necesitas una coma, if you blah, 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 comma, then you will blah, 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 okay? So if you study, comma, you pass the exam, or you will pass the exam. We divide the sentence, the 2 sections with a comma. But it can, we can invert the order. So we can put the second section before. So instead of if you study, you pass, we can say you pass if you study. And, the only difference is that in the second case, you don't need the comma. Okay? En la segunda no necesitamos la coma. So you say if you study, comma, you pass. You pass if you study. No comma. And, just a quick note, be careful with the pronunciation for comma. If you say comma is comma, to separate different words in a sentence. But if you say coma, you mean, the health condition, okay? Un coma etílico, so be careful. So you say coma for the health condition, and then you say comma for the separation between words. Okay, so that's the basic structure of a conditional sentence, right? If you study, you pass with a comma in between. And you pass if you study. And both forms are correct. You can find the 2 versions. It doesn't matter. It depends on the case. It depends on the person saying the sentence. But you need to know that you can find both sentences. It's important to know. So that's a basic structure of a conditional sentence. Now, how many types of conditionals are there in English? How many types of conditionals can you find in this language? Well, there are actually like 4 conditionals, 4 types of conditionals, but for the B1 level, for the paid level of Cambridge, you only need 3, so to speak. And today, I'm going to be talking about the first 2 types, okay? So we're going to just cover 2 of them. So the first conditional its name is zero conditional, el condicional cero, so to speak. So zero conditional. And the second type, it's called first conditional. Okay? Cero, zero conditional, and first conditional, el primer condicional. Yeah, I'm sure you know this. You've heard of it. Seguro que te suena. So let's look at the zero conditional and how we form it, etc. So the zero conditional, the basic structure is if plus present simple, comma, present simple. Okay? So if, ya sabes que if, the meaning of if is si esto, aquello, si bla bla bla, bla bla bla. So if, present simple, comma, present simple. For example, if you study, you pass. So we use the present simple in both sections of the sentence, okay? So that's a zero conditional. When do we use this conditional? That's a good question. We use it for universal truths, okay? A truth, when you tell the truth, you don't tell lies, you say all the right things, what you feel is right. The truth is la verdad. So we use it for universal truths, verdades universales. It can be scientific truths, something about science. For example, if you heat water, it boils. And this is a classic example. If you heat water, it boils. Okay? Si calientas agua, hierve. This is a universal truth. It's always true. It's a permanent state. It's a permanent truth. And it's scientific. Or, for example, I don't know. This is very extreme, but you can say, if you don't drink water, you die. Basically. Or if you don't breathe, si no respiras, if you don't breathe, you die. Obviously. It's a universal truth. But, it doesn't have to be scientific. It doesn't have to be scientific. So it can be a universal truth about your life, for example. Okay? Algo que sea cierto sobre tu vida. So, for example, you might say, I don't know. For example, imagine you're talking about the profession of being a teacher. I'm a teacher. Imagine you say, if you make classes fun, students learn fast, Si las clases son divertidas, los alumnos aprenden más rápido. It's not 100% true, because, different people, different cases, but it's a universal truth or generalization, If you make classes fun, students learn fast. So it's like a universal truth. It's something true about my life. Or, another example I always give in class is, my father in summer, he likes to have a siesta, when I'm living with my parents in summer, and he likes to have a siesta after lunch. If I wake up my father during the siesta, he gets angry, se enfada, he gets upset. So every time I wake up my father during a siesta, he gets angry or he gets surprised, it's very funny how he wakes up. So it's a universal truth about my life, If I wake up my father during a siesta, he gets angry or he gets surprised, he freaks out. So, as I said, we use the zero conditional for universal truths. They can be scientific or they can be something true and permanent about your life, about your daily life. Something which is always true. Okay, so I hope you don't have any questions about that, and I hope everything is clear, if, present simple, comma, present simple. That's a zero conditional. So now, the second type, it's called the first conditional. So the first conditional, and this is the most common conditionals of all, this is something you've heard about, this is something you saw at high school, this is something you know about a lot. It's, we form it using if, present simple, comma, will. Es decir, que se usa con el will de futuro, la consecuencia. The second type, the second part of the sentence, the consequence, the result. For the result, we use will. So, for example, if you study, you will pass the exam. Si estudias, aprobarás. You know, it's a possibility. Or, for example, if it doesn't rain, you know, if it doesn't rain, si no llueve, if it doesn't rain, we will play basketball. Jugaremos al baloncesto. If it doesn't rain, we'll play basketball. Okay? So that's the first conditional. And when do we use the first conditional? So basically, we use it when we are talking about possibilities. Okay? So we use the zero conditional for universal truths or generalizations. And we use the first conditional when we are talking about, you know, something which is likely to happen. Okay? Algo que es posible que ocurra. You know? Possibilities in the future. We are talking about the future. You know, within this conditional, we've got different words that we can use. We can use if, okay? And when we use if, it's a 50% of possibilities, okay, so to speak. 50% es posible, you know, 50-50. So we say, if I finish my homework today, we will play football, okay? It's a possibility, you know, I'm not really sure if, you know, about whether I'll be able to finish my homework. So I use if because I'm not really sure, just 50% sure. So I can say, if I finish my homework today, we will play football. You know, it's a possibility. I don't know, you know, I can't really tell you we're gonna play football. But if I finish my homework, we'll play football. It's a possibility. But, you know, instead of if, I can use when. ¿Vale? En lugar de if, podríamos usar when. If I use when, basically, the possibilities are really high. I am really sure about that event or thing happening. So, for example, when I finish my homework, we'll play football. You know, this time it's sure, it's certain, it's seguro. You know, cuando acabe los deberes, jugaremos. It's for sure.